Hi everyone, I'm Jaymie. I'm the soulful intuitive coach and healer that provokes you to shift your life in a loving and stimulating way. I'm all about taking our past experiences, particularly some of the most painful experiences, and the limiting beliefs that we've held onto that we have attributed as the reasons why we're not able to live the life of our dreams, and actually transmuting them into the reason why we can have everything that we've ever desired. It's this amazing transformative mindset shift that I'm super, super passionate about. Because everything that we feel, everything that we've gone through, this is a part of us. And I think it's really important to embody these elements because they show up for a reason and they are valuable gifts for us to understand and connect with more deeply. Now, today, I feel really passionate about talking to you guys about forgiveness. The full moon energy is really potent with the forgiveness, sort of that energetic flow. So I really want to take advantage of that. Although this is something that we can do any time of the year, right? And yet it's something that a lot of us don't do. Forgiveness is something that, is something that we can all do no matter how much time we have, no matter how little time we think we have, regardless of our financial situation, regardless of where we're living, even if you want to work with a certain coach or a healer and you don't have that resources or you want to look for guidance, forgiveness is something that we can all do. It is universally accessible to all of us, right? And yet there's a resistance around it, and I totally get it. It's not sexy, it's not appealing, it seems unpleasant from the get-go. And so no matter how great something is, we can know its value, but knowing is only potential knowledge until we get inspired to actually use it. So I want to share with you guys my process that got me started because I feel like it's such a powerful way to really give us permission to start where we are. I feel like there's a lot of misperceptions about forgiveness exercise. I think a lot of us are familiar with the fact that forgiveness is a really heavy, forgiveness is so important because the energies of anger, resentment, frustration, these are really heavy energies. So when we release it, we remove this block and it allows us to move forward, right? And so it's one of those things. And the other thing is that anger and all of those stuck energy, it gets trapped in our liver. And so that creates other physical disruptions in our lives. It doesn't allow our body to detoxify correctly. And it can lead to hormonal imbalances, which for women can lead to menstrual irregularities and a bunch of other things that can just be really disruptive. And we can balance all of that out. And a really popular exercise is a Hawaiian forgiveness exercise, and it's called, it's like Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono. I'm going to leave it on the comments. I tend to have a hard time pronouncing it, but it's basically 4 simple sentences. It is super, 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 super simple. It's, I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you, I love you. And these are really triggering words. I mean, it really brings on that resistance and people are like, well, I don't want to do that. The biggest thing is that for me, I always believed in this myth, in order to participate in a forgiveness exercise, you have to be in a forgiving state, and I just wasn't. And because of that, I spent years not taking advantage of this beautiful practice. So I'm here to tell you that you do not have to be in a forgiving state in order to forgive. You can do it with anger and you can do it with total honesty and acceptance of this. I'm one of those people that if something feels any less than honest to me by any means, I just have such an aversion to it. And so I held back from it. And then I all of a sudden just had this shift one day and I was like, you know what? I made a commitment. If there is something that I want to do that I feel really, I really feel connected to and believe that it's going to help me in my spiritual growth, but I don't feel aligned to it for whatever reason, instead of just ignoring it or putting myself off from it, I ask myself, how can I make this work for me? How can I be inspired? How can I embody this practice? How can I make it work for me, right? And so with forgiveness, the biggest pushback was, well, I'm angry. So like I'm not in a forgiving state. So why can't I do this practice and benefit from it with anger? You know, like we're humans. We're multidimensional beings. We experience a myriad of different things, you know, and we can show up as we are. And that's absolutely okay, because it's in this practice that you start to forgive. The end result is that you have more forgiving energy and love and understanding for the other person. You don't have to show up with that. And you're not expected to end up with this perfect result the first time around either. And it's not about, you know, forgiving someone because, you know, they deserve it, or because you're excusing what they did. You're doing this for yourself, because you are refusing to allow someone else's wrongdoing, someone else mistreating you, to stop you from living the life of your dreams. You're basically saying, it was wrong for you to disrespect me, it was wrong for you to mistreat me, and I'm going to no longer allow you to hold that space within me. Because that's what's happening when we're not forgiving someone, is that we're continuing to let someone's wrongdoing, or it may not even be wrongdoing, but anything that we haven't let go of, we're allowing it to still be a problem in our lives. And we deserve better than that. We deserve to be free. And so I'm going to share with you an example that in my own life. So the thing is, you know what? I decided, like, so when I was younger, my mom used to have this rule. She would say that I can go to Payless and I could only get the shoes that are on sale, which were sandals. And I grew up in San Francisco. So that basically meant that my feet were wet and they weren't properly protected the majority of the time until I needed new shoes. And so this was just really not what I considered to be fair at the time. I didn't realize how unfair it was, though. Like, at least when I was younger, like my poor friends had more stuff than I did. All I knew was that it was just something that my mom did as a way to have power over us, to control us, to manipulate us. And I was frustrated. But honestly, I just wanted the experience to be over as quickly as possible, so I just went with it. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized how upsetting that was for me and how much anger I was carrying around about that. Because one of the things that I struggle with is worthiness around receiving the kind of money that I'd like to get. And I realized that it's because at some point in my life, I downloaded this belief that I'm meant to survive, not thrive, but survive. And it's because I always settled for so much of my life. And then I got really frustrated, and I was like, man, so many of these limiting beliefs came from my parents and they were completely avoidable, and I was just so frustrated about this, right? And so when I started doing the exercise, you know, I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you, I love you, it just didn't feel genuine. And I was like, you know what? I'm not fucking sorry. So then I started thinking, well, what? I'm not sorry about this. I don't forgive my mom for this. So then I thought, okay, well, what am I sorry about? What can I forgive my mom about, right? So then I started, I'm going to be really honest with you. I started off being very bitchy, bitter, and negative, because that's where I was. I was like, I'm sorry that you were such a fucked up person. I'm sorry that you were so manipulative. I'm sorry that you were so shady. I'm sorry that you took shit out on me, you know, and stuff like that. I started where I was. And the more I did that, the more my energy softened. And over time, it shifted from, I'm sorry you were such a fucked up person, to, I'm sorry that you were suffering. I'm sorry that you felt that you didn't have enough control in your life. I'm sorry that you felt unfulfilled in life, right? So I started to become more understanding and more compassionate. I was able to expand my perception and see things outside of myself. I started saying things like, I forgive you, Jaymie, for having to put up with this. I forgive you for not standing up for yourself. Thank you for taking the time to do this powerful exercise. I love you, Jaymie. And I kept continuing to do that, continuing to do that, continuing to do that, until every day it started to get a little bit better and better over time. And this is what's really important and huge, is giving yourself permission to be where you're at and just trusting that over time you're going to soften. Now, of course, I do want to caveat this with the intention that I'm doing this from a place of empowerment. This is not an opportunity. This is not a free pass for me to bitch and just continue to keep the anger alive. That's not what this is about. But in order for me to release what's inside of me, I need to address and acknowledge what's there. And so I'm doing it to just purge, to get more and more of that out of me. And as you do that, you start to feel lighter. And there's something really powerful for me doing it in this way, because I started to accept myself for where I am. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel left out or frustrated that I wasn't a forgiving enough of a person to qualify to do this work. And so until I was ready, I wasn't going to be able to benefit from it. Like, there's a benefit to wherever you are at any point in your life. And it's about leveraging those benefits at that moment. And so really be honest with yourself. If you've found resistance around doing the forgiveness exercise, but you know that there's so much for you to get out of this practice, try that. Experiment with it. Let me know how you think about it, how it made you feel. And again, this is so that you can release it. This is not a free pass to start bitching. This is just finding a way to get started where you are. All right? And just start there. And then I'm going to create another video at a later time sharing with you some of the different ways and other ways that I execute this and how it's benefited me. But for now, just try it out, find your flow, find your rhythm, comment below, let me know what your experience has been, and then continue to check out my videos and let me know what resonates with you. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Bye.